Josephine Oluyole, and reading with me is we're both bringing you Newscope, a daily news program of in-depth reports, interviews, and commentaries. First, the highlights. Governor Makinde declares presidential ambition.
Nigeria records local crude oil supply boom.
Minister blames failed education development partnership on poor data.
Russia launches massive air raid on Kyiv.
Now the details. The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has declared his intention to contest for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the newly formed alliance between the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the Allied People's Movement (APM). Governor Makinde made the declaration at a mega rally held at the ancient Mapo Hall and officially announced the alliance between PDP and APM. Details are presented by the Governor's Office correspondent, Oluyole Sulaiman.
Hi, announce my candidacy for the position of the president.
The ancient Mapo Hall in Ibadan became a major political hub as members of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), the Allied People's Movement (APM), and other supporters trooped out in large numbers to witness the alliance between two parties ahead of the 2027 general election. Major roads leading to the venue were heavily congested as party faithful, adorned in branded souvenirs and carrying party logos, made their way to the frontage of Mapo Hall for the rally. In his address, the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, said the alliance between the PDP and APM is a step towards building a stronger coalition capable of presenting an alternative leadership for the country. Describing the moment as historic, the governor declared that the alliance will field candidates at all levels, from presidency to state assemblies.
Today, history is being made. I pronounce today the birth of Reset Nigeria movement. This handshake will allow us field candidates at all levels. We will field candidates from top to bottom.
Governor Makinde, who lamented the current economic and security challenges facing Nigerians, added that the coalition, which he described as a movement to rescue Nigeria, was formed to provide the leadership and direction needed to reposition the nation.
We have witnessed the continuous meddling in the affairs of opposition parties in our dear country, with the aim of taking Nigeria to a one-party system. Without a multi-party system, there is no democracy. So where is our multi-party? The economic and security situations have continued to deteriorate, putting the majority of Nigerians on survival mode.
In their various remarks, the national chairman of the Allied People's Movement (APM), Dr. Yusuf Dantale, a member of Board of Trustee PDP BOT, Honorable Aliyo Defa, and the National Secretary of the APM, Honorable Oyadiyi Ayodele, who lauded the developmental strides of Governor Makinde, said the alliance between APM and PDP is aimed at restoring the pride of Nigerians and rescuing democracy in the country. They lamented the current state of the nation, noting that Nigeria's image and influence in Africa had declined over years. Also speaking, a former governor of Osun State, Prince Oluyole, said the failure of the ruling party at the national level to fulfill its promises to Nigerians informed the alliance by the parties to deliver the needed change in the country. The Oyo State chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Honorable Dayo Ogungbero, also expressed optimism that the newly formed alliance will produce the next president of Nigeria, which also boosted the chances of other candidates contesting under the coalition to secure electoral victories. Earlier, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party and the Allied People's Movement signed and presented a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, at the PDP Southwest Secretariat, Shoji Adagodo House, Old Ife Road, Ibadan. Olalekan Sulaiman, BCS News.
The Oyo State Head of Service, Mrs. Olubumi Oni, has emphasized the importance of discipline, hard work, and proper parental guidance in building a responsible and productive society. Mrs. Oni stated these while featuring on BCS Television's flagship program, Guest of the Month. Our reporter, Olamide Wolabi, has the details.
The main edition of BCS Radio and Television's flagship program, extensively on the civil service, child upbringing, leadership, and societal values. Reflecting on her journey from childhood to attain the position of head of service, Mrs. Oni attributed her success to the strong educational foundation laid by her father, describing education as the greatest legacy that possibly shaped her and her siblings. Speaking on child upbringing, Mrs. Oni noted that what many children often perceive as strict discipline may eventually become a valuable guide towards a successful future. She stressed the need for parents to help children understand the reasons behind discipline and encourage them to be responsible at all times.
It's book. You have to read. And when it's time for news, my father will ensure that you stay by the television set when he eventually got one for us, so that we can listen to the news. He will buy newspaper so that we can read. All just in the form of education. He will ask us to read our books because that is the only legacy he can leave behind for us. He will tell us, I don't have any property to leave back. I don't have any house or anything to leave back. But your education is what I will invest in, and that is the only property I will leave behind for every one of you. And true to it, that is the property left behind. Though he has structural to put that in. So whether you are a man or a woman, a girl or a boy, you should be able to give what the society demands, what the system demands. So at my workplace, right from the first day, I put in my best because that is the value that have been instilled in me while growing up. Because when you do your best, your supervisors will like you. They will give you assignments. They will send you to places. And that's actually found me out.
Mrs. Oni further emphasized that diligence, excellence, and consistency remain essential virtues for career growth, noting that hard work naturally distinguishes individuals for greater responsibilities and leadership opportunities. Olamide Wolabi, BCOS News.
The Oyo State Police Command has recorded a breakthrough in its efforts to combat kidnapping and other violent crimes across the state with the arrest of a suspected kidnapper in Oyo town. The arrest followed credible intelligence received through operatives of the Vigilante Group of Nigeria, VGN Oyo, that suspected kidnappers had assembled at a forest in Otefon village to collect ransom from the relatives of an abducted victim. This was contained in a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Ayonade Olayinka. Preliminary investigation revealed that the gang, made up of about 6 armed men, had earlier abducted one Alhaji Bagudu from his residence at Ilowa village in Atiba local government area on the 9th of May and demanded 10 million naira ransom for his release. The police explained that security operatives strategically ensured the safe release of the victim before advancing towards the kidnappers' hideout. The statement adds that upon sighting the approaching security operatives, the suspects opened fire, leading to a gun duel. While the suspects escaped into the forest with suspected gunshot injuries, one suspect identified as Muhammad Sani was arrested. The police say the suspect is currently in custody and has made useful confessional statements while efforts are ongoing to arrest other fleeing members of the gang.
The Defense Headquarters has dismissed reports alleging civilian casualties following an air-land operation conducted by troops of Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansanyama in Zamfara State. The operation, carried out on May 10, 2026, reportedly targeted a gathering of terrorist leaders at Tumfa village in Shinkafi local government area. In a statement issued by the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, on X today, the military said the strike was based on credible intelligence gathered from multiple sources. The Defense Headquarters explained that the mission was an air interdiction strike, noting that such operations do not allow for immediate ground-level confirmation of casualty figures. The military said reports circulating in the media regarding casualty figures were unverified and should be disregarded.
This broadcast of Newscope is coming to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. Nigeria's crude oil imports for domestic refining dropped in April 2026 as the country also recorded a drop in crude oil importation. This was contained in the latest data from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The NMDPRA fact sheet for April 2026 shows that out of the total 18.37 million barrels of crude supplied to domestic refineries for the month, only 410,000 were imported, while as much as 17.96 million barrels came from local sources. The development indicates a reduction in import dependence compared to previous months, where imports stood at 9.43 million barrels in March and 4.25 million barrels in February.
The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has warned Nigerians against investing in unregistered online investment schemes and being promoted on social media platforms, cautioning that many of them operate like Ponzi schemes. In a public notice today on the Commission's X handle, the SEC said it had observed a growing trend of fraudulent investment promotions across digital platforms. According to the Commission, many of the schemes promise unrealistic or guaranteed returns to attract unsuspecting members of the public. The SEC stressed that several of the platforms are currently operating online and neither registered nor authorized to function within Nigeria's capital markets. The regulator warned Nigerians against relying on investment advice from individuals or organizations that are not licensed by the Commission. The SEC's latest warning comes amid increasing concerns over the rise of online financial schemes and digital Ponzi schemes targeting Nigerians through social media and other internet-based platforms.
President Bola Tinubu has extended a formal invitation to the President of Guinea, Namadi Doumbouya, for a state visit to Nigeria. This followed a bilateral engagement today on the sidelines of the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, where both leaders discussed potential partnership in Guinea's vast mineral and metal sector. Special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Sunday Dari, revealed this in an interview with journalists after the day's engagements. He said Doumbouya had received the invitation warmly and that the visit to Abuja was expected to follow in the near term. Doumbouya, who won Guinea's recent presidential election with 86.2% of the vote, is navigating his country's transition to civilian democratic rule. Guinea is among Africa's most mineral-rich countries, holding the world's largest reserves of bauxite, the principal ore used in aluminium production, as well as significant deposits of iron ore, gold, and diamonds.
The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has today criticized years of education spending by development partners in parts of Nigeria, describing much of the investments as ineffective due to poor use of data in planning and monitoring outcomes. He stated these at the Nigerian Education Data Infrastructure National Stakeholders Meeting in Abuja. According to him, nearly 80% of education-related development financing over the past decade had been concentrated in two geopolitical zones, which have some of the country's lowest literacy and numeracy levels. He added that the government now rely on NEDI to ensure future interventions are guided by measurable outcomes rather than assumptions. He reviewed that he recently challenged the World Bank over the effectiveness of previous interventions in the education sector. Alausa said the newly developed education data infrastructure would allow governments at all levels to make evidence-based decisions on budgeting, school infrastructure, teacher deployment, and student performance.
As Nigerians continue to grapple with rising food prices, the increasing cost of pepper and tomatoes has become a major concern for many households. While traders attribute the hike to seasonal changes and a rising transportation costs, consumers say the situation is putting more pressure on their feeding budget and reducing their purchasing power. Our reporter Bimbola Shawande, who visited Bodija Market in Ibadan, reports.
A visit to Bodija Market in Ibadan revealed a sharp increase in the prices of tomatoes, pepper, and bell pepper, popularly known as tatashe, forcing many consumers to purchase smaller quantities to cope with the rising costs. The head of pepper sellers at Bodija Market, Mrs. Modinot Oluyole, explained that the hike in prices is usually experienced around May due to seasonal factors and reduced supply from farms. According to her, a bucket of tomatoes, which previously sold for between 3,000 and 4,000 naira, now costs between 10,000 and 12,000 naira, with a bucket of pepper currently selling for about 10,000 naira. Mrs. Oluyole added that the bag of pepper now goes for between 150,000 naira and 160,000 naira, while bell pepper, formerly sold for between 3,000 and 4,000 naira per bucket, now costs about 7,000 naira, with a bag selling for about 90,000 naira.
kò sí nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ṣe sáta tó ń wá àsìkò ẹ̀ ni tó bá ti di bí oṣù karùn-ún lọ sókè bíi May lọ sókè ata máa ń wọ́n tó láta ó ti tán láti ilẹ̀ Haúsá omi ò ti ba ata wọn jẹ́ ilẹ̀ Haúsá a máa retí ìtọ̀dọ̀ wa ń bì ìtọ̀dọ̀ wa bí bá ti jáde títí July ní gbogbo ẹ̀ ló máa sọ̀kalẹ̀ padà tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ bọ́kẹ́ẹ̀tì tòmátò 3,000 3,500 ó wọ́n jù tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ 4,000 but nísìn 10,000.
Another trader, Mrs. Tyrat Olabisi, also blamed the increase on prevailing market conditions and high transportation costs. She noted that patronage has dropped significantly as many customers can no longer afford to buy food items in large quantities.
Tẹ́lẹ̀ tomato anta 4 anta 5 àmọ́ báyìí 10,000 tomato tábà ta ní 10,000 bucket basket yẹn 20,000 kì í ṣe basket nílá o nílá taláwùsá 120 130 kò sí bàbá tábà sí tàbẹ́ kò lè pé torí pé àwa náà sáwà ní òrùn àfẹ́ ìjẹ́rè kóró 10,000 báàgì ẹ̀ 150 160.
Some consumers who spoke with BCS News expressed concern over the continuous rise in food prices. One of the buyers, Mrs. Unbeatable Nancy, said the present economic situation has made feeding increasingly difficult for many families. She explained that food items that previously cost about 5,000 naira now sell for as much as 10,000 naira.
Anytime it's expensive, we try to cut our costs according to our sizes. So it's just that the quantity of soup and everything we are cooking is not as much than before. Even the qualities are not like before. Look at this pepper now. They said it is 7,000 and it is not the fresh one, it's the Esha. So imagine buying Esha for 7,000. Then what are you talking about for the fresh ones?
Traders and consumers appealed to government to intensify efforts at stabilizing food prices and improving economic conditions to ease the burden on Nigerians.
And on the foreign scene, Russia launched a barrage of missiles and drones targeting Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, killing at least 3 people and wounding 40 others. Foreign desk editor Folashade Akintola compared the story and others as presented by Khadijat Lawal.
The Ukrainian military said on Thursday that the overnight strikes hit 6 districts of Kyiv and another 6 in the surrounding areas. Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Kuleba said attacks had targeted ports in the southern Odessa region and railways. In a post on X, President Volodymyr Zelensky said rescue operations were continuing following an attack on a 9-story building in Kyiv after Russia launched more than 670 attack drones and 56 missiles against Ukraine. The mayor of Kyiv, Vitaly Klitschko, said 40 people were wounded in the attacks, including 2 children, while Ukrainian emergency services said 3 people have been killed. The attack comes as a setback for efforts to end the war after United States President Donald Trump raised faint hopes for peace, brokering a 3-day ceasefire between Kyiv and Moscow last week, and Russian leader Vladimir Putin suggested the war could be winding down. The truce put in place as Putin presided over a scaled-down military parade in Red Square to mark the anniversary of World War II victory was marred by allegations of violations by both sides. Meanwhile, Israel has ramped up its attacks on southern Lebanon, killing 2 people and issuing several forced displacement orders as the 2 sides prepare for United States brokered talks on extending a ceasefire. Lebanon's national news agency reported on Thursday morning that Israeli warplanes targeted the Ezedine residential project in the town of Srifa, killing 2 people. The Israeli army announced in a post on Telegram that it had begun targeting alleged Hezbollah infrastructure sites in several areas in southern Lebanon. Earlier, the Israeli army's Arabic language spokesperson, Avichai Handrei, announced on X the first evacuation orders for the towns and villages of Libaya, Sama, Tafata, Kafir Malik, Yomo, Haintin, Kumin Al-Fauka and Mazrat Sina. An airstrike was also reported on the town of Ain al-Tin in the western Bekaa. According to Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health on Wednesday, at least 2,896 people have been killed in Israeli attacks since the conflict resumed in early March. And lastly, the Philippine Senate President says that a politician wanted by the International Court was no longer in the Senate building where he had been taking refuge fearing his arrest. Senator